evening, Chuck here at Garden Spot Acres. Welcome back to video 3 of the playhouse build. Well, we got the trusses almost finished. Just have to put the gussets on the other side of our middle trusses. And we're gonna wait for some of the lumber over here to be used up, because I do have some ends here that I'm gonna use for those gussets. But in this video, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get our walls framed up. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to frame up the long walls first. That way, when you frame up your short walls, you'll have the inner portion of your decking, your floor, to work on your short walls and lift them up in place. You'll see what I mean here. Let's walk over here and take a look at that. So when I frame up, I'm going to lay out my top and my bottom plate here. We're going to lay out where the studs go, where the windows are going to be placed. Then I'll do the other wall, long wall over there. And when both of these walls are placed upright, you know, here, upright, I'll still have the middle section here to frame up my short walls and then lift them up into place. And if you reverse that, you wouldn't have the room. So keep that in mind when you frame up your walls. You always want to do your long walls first and your short walls, or your long walls edge to edge, here like this. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and lay this up. We're going to do 16-inch on centers. So I'm going to start laying out from this end here. We're going to go one stud, and then we're going to work on our window framing, and we'll mark out our 16ths for underneath your sill. I don't know, the triple studs, whatever they're called. Then we'll just work our way right on down. So I'm just going to go ahead and just mark off here 16-inch on centers first. Then I'll worry about my windows. I think that's the best way to do that. That way I don't get confused. All right, let's get working on that layout. Our first stud obviously goes right here on the end. I'll just mark that one off. Okay, so we're measuring here from the end. So we're going to come down here 17 and a half. And our stud will go on that side. Now that gives you your 16 on centers. You can see if I center here, it'll give me 16 inches on center onto this one. Okay. Now you can lay this out now. You can see it's 16. Just stretch that tape out. Leave it on there like that. Or you could nail that if you wanted to. And just mark off your 16s, and we're going to draw our lines. Now here's your 48. Now if you're putting a sheet good on here, you're putting your sheet goods right here on the end, like this, and that would stretch down here, and your 4-foot width of your plywood or OSB or whatever you're using would be in the center of this 2x4, because that 2x4 goes on this side. Other people may have a different way to do this. I do it this way. It doesn't really matter when I'm doing this, because I tend to use like the tongue and groove or the shiplap barn board. So it really doesn't matter where my centers are, because these studs here are just support for the roof. These are actually not going to be used as nailing studs. On my long walls here, my boards are vertical. So I'm going to have to put nailers in. A couple nailers in, one low and one high, so I have 4 nailers when I put my tongue and groove on. Now let's mark the rest of these out here. And there we go. So I'm starting my layout on the right hand end, working down to the left side here. This will be my bottom plate. That'll be my top plate. All right, let me take a look at my paper here, how I figured out how to do the windows. And I'll probably end up crossing these off, a couple of these anyways, or at least one of them. Let's see what we got here. So here's actually the edge of my window. This is the stud that'll go from the bottom plate all the way up to the top plate here. Then I got to put another stud in here. So I was saying before my GoPro turned off, this is a full stud here, bottom plate to top plate. Then I'm going to have to go a shorter stud here, 1.5 inches in. And I'll just mark that now. So there's a stud here. Now from this stud here over to my next one. So this is like a cripple stud here underneath the window sill. From here to the next one, I need, my opening has got to be 21.25. So I got to measure 21.25 from here over to here, and that'll be the next short stud up alongside. That'd be my jack stud. So let's measure 21.25. Then we'll measure over 1.5 inches. So we have a stud going in here. We have a stud in here. We have a regular full stud here. This is our jack stud here. Our jack stud here. Here we have a cripple stud. That's under the sill. That's a little short one that goes under the sill. I'll pull these back together. Now we have another full stud here for the other side of the window. So we got a full stud, so that should take care of my studs down through here. So I start here with my 16-inch full stud here, also here. Then I got a shorter jack stud, a cripple stud, a jack stud, and a full stud. In between here has got to be my window opening. Let's just double check that. I got 21.25, and that's what I wanted, 21.25. The height is going to be 30.5 for the rough openings. 21.25 width for the rough opening, 30.5 for the height rough opening. So I got this full stud here. There's no stud here, and I'll show you why in a minute. There's not going to be anything here. Nothing here. So let's see how many full studs I have to cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I got 10 full studs to go from the bottom plate to the top plate. Then I got the 2 shorter jack studs. And let's see what I'm gonna make the full studs. So my full studs are gonna be 5 feet 4 inches. So how many of those I need again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we're going to make those 5 feet 4 inches, 64 inches. Now my other wall over here is going to be identical to this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all my framing members out for both walls. Then I'll just do my layout over on my other one when I'm ready for it. But that's going to be the layout for the long walls right here. We're going to have a window here and no windows up here on this wall. And do the same thing on the other one. A window in the back area, but no window in the front area. Don't want to give too much away what we're going to do with the windows, but that's how the long walls are going to look. They're going to have 2 windows in them. 1 window on each side. So let me grab some of these 12-foot 2x4s and let's get cutting 5 feet 4 inches. I need 20 of them all together. 10 for this side, 10 for the other side. Now these pieces here aren't going to be thrown away. Those are actually going to be my nailers. I have to trim them off. But those are going to be my nailers in between my studs. Because again, I'm putting vertical siding on here and I need nailers. Because these upright studs here they're not going to be nailers for my siding. Right? I'm going to go ahead and nail these 2 in. And I think I'm going to call this a day for today because this wind is really blowing out here. And it's blowing sawdust in my eyes. I got some galvanized coated ring shank nails. Home Depot sells the DeWalt nailers. The brushless nailer here takes 30 to 34 degree nails, and they don't sell any nails except Pazload in that angle. Don't know what's going on there. Anybody buying lumber lately? It's junk. Can't get it. When you get it, it's expensive. And it's real junk. Look how much twist there is on that. before I call it quits today, I'm gonna go ahead and make a mark here, a chalk line. Now know where to put my bottom plate on, just in case this has a bow in it or something. All right, made it back. Got the rest of the studs cut for the right hand wall here. We're gonna go ahead and nail them in now. Then we'll start working on the window framing. Okay, our next step here is to put a header in, and I'm just going to lay two 2x4s on their side and just fill some of this gap in here. And our window is going to be going from right about here down. So there's not that much room above the window, so I'm not going to put one in here and put little chunks in. I'm just going to run two 2x4s on their side here. And they've got to be 24 1/4. Okay, there's the header. Now we need to put the jack studs in underneath the header. So we got to measure from here down to the plate down there. And we got 61 inches. This is the quality of some of the lumber I got the other day. This is an 8-foot 2x4. Here's another one. I don't know how a sheetrocker deals with this. I mean, it's just terrible. But 8-foot 2x4 cost $8. And this is the quality. So you can see these jack studs transfer the weight of the header, the weight that's on the header, over to the jack studs down to the sill. Now it would have been stronger to turn these the other way, but I'm not building a house here, I'm just building a shed. So we don't have a ton of weight. So if you want to turn these the other way to get a little bit more strength, that's how you normally would frame. You would sandwich two of them together, probably with a 1/2 inch plywood, and flip them around, but I'm going with this way because it's a little bit easier to build with. Okay, we need to measure for our windowsill here, but don't measure up here in the middle. Measure down here where you did your markings on your plate. And it's 21 1/4. That's what my rough opening is, so it's perfect, 21 1/4. So I gotta cut one of those. Pick up the best piece of the worst here. Okay, my rough opening's got to be 30 1/2. There we go. Now, instead of toenailing that in, I'm going to go ahead and measure my jack stud here, or cripple stud, whatever you want to call that. That's 29. So I'm going to cut two 29s now for underneath here. Actually 3, I got to put one here, right there, for another upright stud here. So I got 3 29s to cut. And I think I'm going to start cutting out of this piece of wonderful lumber here. Can you see that down through there? So that's how you frame up a window. Or two of the last things we have to do. I'm going to run a diagonal brace here which is going to be mortised right into the 2x4 studs, and then we're going to put some nailers in. So we're going to mortise that brace right into our wall studs here. We're just going to tack it into place. I'm gonna take my saw now. We're gonna set the saw to 1.5 inches. I'm gonna run the saw on top of the brace here, right along the board. So the board's gonna be the guide for my blade, and I'm gonna go 3/4 of an inch deeper than the board. So it's gonna be 1.5 inches total depth. Now the easiest way to do that is to grab a 2x4. And I'll go a little bit deeper. That's good right there. So you can see the depth we're at. I just went a little bit deeper than 1.5 inches. Then we're going to run that right along the edge of the board. The last one here, I don't have much room, so I'm gonna go get my multi-tool saw and cut that one out. All right, remember when I snapped the line on here? So I have this end of my wall on the line. I got this end of my wall on the line. I know my deck is square. I got this overhanging maybe 1/4 inch. And now I got this one overhanging about 1/4 inch. Right there. So I'm pretty much positive my wall is square now. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my brace in. And there's an inset bracing. And I could have run that this way, but I ran it that way. So each of the long walls will have one brace in it. I may put another brace here I'm not sure. I can't go through the window, obviously, but I could come like down in here and run that way. That's just a pain in through these studs underneath my sill. I might just put that one in and, you know, keep it from racking. And since I'm using tongue and groove, not as good as plywood sheet goods to stop racking. If you're using plywood or Texture 111 or whatever you're using for your sheeting, you don't have to use these braces. Now, if I was using just board and batten, probably should have those braces in. It'll keep your walls from racking, you know, back and forth. But with tongue and groove, it's kind of like in between plywood and board and batten. So I just go ahead and put that in anyways. That barn down there was built with tongue and groove, and I had no racking, I had no bracing, angle bracing, but I also have rigid foam board. I'll show you that in another video, what I use for insulation in there that keeps it from moving at all anyways. All right, so this is a good idea if you're using board siding. Again, plywood, you don't have to use it. I thought I'd just show that. That's how you inset a brace on your wall. And I put it on the outside. You could put it on the inside. Doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and nail that. Then we're gonna zip off these ends here. Then I gotta cut some nailers to put through here to nail my vertical siding in. And there we go. Thanks for coming along on video 3. I'll do the gable ends next, then finish my framing in the next video. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Have a great day. Bye-bye.